there was recreation for the adults, too. Golf on the 9-hole course at the country club, complete with Club Pro and a rope tow for that long climb back to the clubhouse from the last green. In the evenings and on weekends, there was bowling on the 10 lanes at the Mangla alleys. There were some pretty fair averages, and a few who would just as soon forget about the whole thing. A fine restaurant with a menu of gourmet delights was a popular place to get together. About all Mangla lacked was a freeway traffic jam. By now, excavation was complete, and the concrete crews were at work covering the 55-acre area of the main spillway. Supports for the pre-stressed concrete spillway gate anchorages were being placed. The spillway design is a submerged intake type with 9 radial gates, each 36 feet wide and 40 feet high. The pressure was still on, and work went ahead at full speed. Sometimes other things went ahead at full speed, too. With a 2-day holiday coming, payday is important. Important, too, was the contribution of the Pakistani workmen and foremen. These are the men who had never seen a scraper, a cat, or a power shovel. Yet, these are the men who operated 1,000 pieces of specialized equipment, 2 shifts a day, 6 days a week. And these are the men who, in their best month, moved 4 million yards of earth fill. To meet the next important deadline, impounding of the river's waters behind the dam, work was going ahead at an equally rapid pace on both Jari Dam and the Sukian Dike. Here at Jari, the main embankment was already established to a level of nearly 200 feet. The irrigation intake tunnel was nearly completed. As was the outlet and the tail race. As soon as the levels of all embankments were of sufficient height, impounding could begin. The gates at the upstream end of the diversion tunnels were closed on February 21st, 1967, and the lake began to rise behind the dam. It took just 1 month for the lake level to reach the spillway elevation, and on March 21st, the first water passed over the giant structure. But the big job at Mangla was fill. All told, the contractor would eventually place 145 million cubic yards of fill on the 3 dams. 2 shifts were now utilizing a fleet of 75 wagons of 100-ton capacity and 80 scrapers, each with a capacity of 40 cubic yards. Ahead of the rising lake, riprap was placed on the upstream banks. Now the various aspects of the project were nearing completion, and as each was finished, it was turned over to the West Pakistan Water and Power Development Authority, who would now be responsible for its operation. fill work on the main dam was completed in June 1967, almost 5 years after initial excavation had started some 375 feet below on the riverbed. A month later, Jari Dam received a certificate of completion. And at the same time, a special ceremony was held and the main spillway was placed under WAPDA's control. Now, work at the powerhouse became critical. Pakistan wanted electricity. The sooner the better. Engineering crews rushed to finish final tests on the generators. On July 3rd, 1967, number 1 received its okay, and power went on the line. But work at the powerhouse didn't let up. Much remained to be done. The first butterfly valves had been assembled in place near the turbines. Now that procedure was changed. The valves were pre-assembled, then moved on a skid to the powerhouse for installation along with the other power-generating components. The project at Mangla was almost complete. At the eastern end, Jari Dam was releasing waters into the downstream irrigation system. The Sukian Dike now stretched along its complete 3.5-mile length, and the last riprap was being placed and combed. The emergency spillway was now complete. The main spillway with its 2 stilling basins is one of the largest ever built. 29 million cubic yards of earth were cleared away for it, and almost 1.25 million cubic yards of concrete were required to form the massive structure. If during flood time the lake level were to increase 26 feet above conservation level, the gates would pass a jet of water 18 feet deep, 444 feet wide at a speed of 90 miles per hour into the stilling basins. In its small way, the old Mangla headworks was able to divert some of the Jhelum's waters to better use. But now the Jhelum is harnessed. Now there is water to irrigate the land. Now there is electricity for industry. Now there is water to put back in the dry riverbeds. More than enough. The new Bong escape sends some of it down country through a series of canals, returning the excess to the Jhelum River. Further downstream, this same water will be turned through a series of barrages and link canals to irrigate the fields and increase the nation's agricultural yield. By 1975, Pakistan's growing economy will be consuming 1.75 million kilowatts. Over half that electrical power will be coming from the generators at Mangla, whose ultimate potential of 1 million kilowatts will make it the largest hydroelectric project in the nation. Already the engineers of the West Pakistan Water and Power Development Authority were in control. At their command, the waters of the Jhelum coursed through the tunnels and turned the generators that created power at Mangla. From Mangla, that new power would flow to the switchyard, where it would be directed to the lines that now crisscrossed the land. Lines designed and built specifically to carry electricity from Mangla to the growing cities and expanding industries of Pakistan. Electricity to light the streets and homes, the offices and buildings. Electricity to power the factories. Electricity for the new life that Pakistan is building. On the hill above the dam, Old Mangla Fort would serve as the inauguration site for the Indus Basin project. Touring the site prior to the ceremony are Guy F. Atkinson, founder of the company which had served as managing partner of Mangla Dam Contractors, and Richard A. Trappier, representing the partners. On the morning of November 23rd, 1967, all was ready. People came to Mangla not only from all parts of Pakistan, but from all parts of the world. Pakistan's President Ayub Khan would inaugurate the new dam. And now his motorcade passed across the top of the dam, approaching the dedication site. Down through the ages, other leaders had come to this desert-like land. But they had only passed through on their way to conquests or defeats and had given little thought to what was then a broad, flat river plain. But today it was different. Important men had come here purposely, not on their way to somewhere, but to be here where men had built a dam that not only changed the course of a river, but of a nation as well. After receiving congratulatory messages from the participating nations, President Khan took the rostrum.
We meet here today a year ahead of schedule. That a project of this size and magnitude should have been completed in record time and a cost below the estimate.
To President Khan, the dam is a tangible demonstration of progress. Progress achieved through long-range planning. Planning to fulfill one purpose, the happiness and welfare of the nation's people.
I have now great pleasure in inaugurating the Mangla Dam, Pakistan, Zindabad.
At the President's signal, the spillway gates opened, and water cascaded over the spillway. The first step in the Indus Basin plan had been taken. The work of 6.5 years was finished. Mangla Dam was complete. Now the men of Mangla Dam, the designers, Binney and Partners, the builders, Mangla Dam Contractors, WAPDA, everyone concerned with the project knew that their work had resulted in another step forward for Pakistan. This dam, together with the old fort, represents a symbol for a nation that looks in both directions, to the heritage of its past and the promise of its future.